Ask Reddit, what's the most disturbing secret you've discovered about someone close to you? Welcome back, friend. Today we will hear some very disturbing things, so I trigger warning, there is talk of our word, ending life, etc. My great-grandmother was married to 3 different people at the same time. The men were from different branches of the military. She was collecting all 3 of their paychecks at a time. One night as a kid I heard my parents having an explosive argument in their bedroom which suddenly went quiet, the door was closed and locked. I found out during a drunk phone call from my mother it was because she attempted to shoot my father in the face with a .303, but it didn't go off when she pulled the trigger as there were no bullets. They were both horrified and just stared at each other apparently. They're still together. All 3 of their paychecks at a time. Discovered that my sister stole my father's $25,000 Rolex not more than 24 hours after he died. I only discovered it when her and her husband made a frivolous purchase, and I wondered where they got their money since they were always broke and begging my parents for money. I got suspicious. It hit me that she might have stolen and sold the Rolex. Had the paperwork, ran a track on the sales history and discovered it had been sold to a pawn shop down the street from where my sister lives. Went to the pawn shop and after a bit of persuasion got them to tell me who sold it to them, and it was my sister. Me and my mom disowned her. Just found out the other day that it wasn't my neighbor's dad who senselessly shot and unalived my dog. It was his son, who I was close friends with. He did it on purpose. He knew how much that dog meant to me too. I also found out the other day where he lives. He's a meth head now, so I'll just let nature or the police do their thing. My former wife, now ex, and I were having problems. I was certain she was cheating on me. I found her notes where she was figuring out and had added up how much I was worth dead. My mom received birthday cards with money in them for years from her parents. She kept the cards with the money in them, saving to buy a piano/sentimental reasons. My sister, who has repeatedly stolen from family members, found the collection of cards/money and took them. My mom only wanted the cards back when she realized what happened. My sister denied everything. F you, Emily. My coworker lets her dog hump her leg every morning till he releases while she has her coffee, which has stayed with me since I heard it. I can't think of anything else when they talk to me. That was a lot to take in. We will do a small break where we watch something cute to try and get rid of the bad taste the stories leave in our mouths. Look at this little guy, isn't he just adorable? Now back to the emotional damage. I was pretty close with my youngest uncle growing up, at least in pictures. He was in his mid-20s when I was like 5 for context. One day when I was in middle school he just stopped coming around completely. My entire family told us kids that he was backpacking around the nation. In high school I was going a genealogy project on my grandfather, his dad, and accidentally found my uncle's name on the sex offender registry. Come to find out he was running a CP ring and had served 16 years in federal prison. He's out now and my family pretends nothing happened. I stay far away. Graduated boot camp and wondered why my brother wouldn't talk to me. Turns out he was fing my ex while I was there instead of delivering my letters. Guess guilt ate him up and he thought it was simpler to keep up the lie and not have a brother, right up until an old friend from my hometown told me what happened. Found out after his death that my great-uncle was a grand wizard in the KKK. Opened a chest in his attic with photos from rallies, lynchings, and cross-burnings all around some rural part of Alabama. We were actually horrified by the discovery and suddenly realized why he was so negative towards his black hospice nurse who was otherwise kind-hearted and caring with him and the family. Edit, since a very large number of you want to keep calling me racist / telling me how much of a F up I was for burning everything. We, as in my family, I was 16 at the time and had no real say in what the adults / elders decided. We decided to burn all of it out of intense shame for what we discovered. We held prayer vigils through our local church for the people affected by his hatred. Had I been older, I might have taken some of the more damning photos and forwarded them to people who could have brought closure to victims. I made this post at great risk to remaining in my family, as they would still see this as romanticizing his actions. To my family, simply speaking his name is done so at great risk to your standing on wills/remaining part of the family. So yes, I do feel like it's too late, because the only thing I have is that my uncle was a member of the KKK for an unknown amount of time before 1950. My family has prided itself in being very inclusive towards other races/ethnic backgrounds. My 7th-generation great-grandfather was a member of the Underground Railroad. Several of my other great-aunts and uncles were vocal figureheads of the civil rights movement. They acted as anyone with that much history behind them would in a moment of shock. They destroyed. Blame them if you wish, but please stop blaming me. I didn't make any decisions, and for me, it's too late to report anything because I don't have any useful information on something that happened a very long time ago for me. I do sincerely apologize to anyone who sees their chances for closure going up in flames, but I can assure you that for how many other Klansmen I saw in those photos, surely some of their families have already submitted evidence after their passing. My uncle has literally been deleted from our family history, even in such detail as to remove his gravestone so that people cannot leave flowers for him. My brother was stealing money from father, who had dementia. This went on for a year, and I found out about it was because the bank who had my father's mortgage called me wondering why it hadn't been paid in 6 months. My father's bank account went into the negative around this time too, and when I confronted my brother about it, he said, "Well, I gotta pay my bills." I was about to take control of all the accounts and make sure SHOT got back on track, but my father ended up in the hospital and died shortly after that. My brother also stole some of my inheritance too. In the end, he stole over $5,000 from his dying father. In high school, one of my best friends dated his girlfriend, then dumped her. The next day at school, the girl was crying, asking her friends what she did wrong. She did nothing wrong. The guy had been my friend and I never spoke to him again. Damn, I feel so sorry for that poor girl. I hope she is doing better now. After my husband died in 2020, I found out he had been having an affair with a 30-year-old. He was 55. She apparently aborted his baby. Everything he told me about his prior life was a lie. Second marriage for both of us, and he had been having sex with men since he was in his early 20s. To sum it up, I didn't know this man at all. We had been together 10 years and married for 6. Met a super nice guy at a networking event when I just starting out in tech. He had a ton of connections and was a nice family man. Super rich. Eventually we became friends and he was acting as a mentor figure to me in the industry. Went over to his massive new house, met his family, etc. He had the demeanor and looked like Al Borland from Home Improvement, to give you an idea. Like 4 years later, I was looking at the sex offender registry map for my local area while I was shopping for houses. Lo and behold, his house popped up. In the early 2000s, he was convicted of co-running a commercial child porn sales site. Served 5 years for it in federal prison. My ex-girlfriend of 6 years admitted that she wasn't her word. Her whole life identity was pretty much surrounded by her accusation. The $15,000 I put towards her therapy. Every time she was having a bad day, she'd blame the PTSD. Every time I had my buddies over, she'd want them gone, because PTSD. Whenever I went out, she wanted me back home, because PTSD. And to top it off, she faked triggers. Like she'd see a red Corvette and start flipping out. Because she said the person who or her drove a red Corvette. Absolutely fing nuts. It honestly still pisses me off and see red when I think about it. Real people have had real sexual assault happen to them. And people like that are why some of them aren't taken seriously. Sorry for the rant. Thank you for watching, friend. Until next time, and remember to stay hydrated.